December 16th, 1985. Midtown Manhattan. The cold air hangs heavy over West 46th Street. Outside Spark Steakhouse, headlights cut through the dark. A black Lincoln Town car pulls up to the curb. The engine idles. Steam rises from the exhaust. Inside the car sits a man who believes he is untouchable. Paul Castellano, boss of the Gambino family, the most powerful mafia figure in America. He adjusts his overcoat, checks his watch. Calm, controlled. A second car pulls in behind him. Moments later, the doors open. Gunmen step out of the shadows. And within seconds, the old order of the American mafia begins to collapse. To understand why Paul Castellano was executed in the middle of Manhattan, you have to go back decades. Back to a different kind of mafia. The Gambino family is at the peak of its power. At the top sits Carlo Gambino, a quiet, calculating leader who ruled through secrecy, discipline, and absolute control. He dies of natural causes that October. No violence, no chaos. But what follows is anything but peaceful. Instead of choosing a street-hardened underboss, Carlo Gambino names his cousin as successor. Paul Castellano, a businessman, a white-collar mob boss, a man more comfortable in a mansion than on the streets. Castellano doesn't operate like the bosses before him. He avoids social clubs, avoids public meetings, avoids risk. Instead, he builds a corporate-style criminal empire. Construction, concrete, labor unions, multi-million-dollar schemes. He runs the mafia like a boardroom, and to some, it feels like betrayal. Among those watching closely is a rising figure in the Gambino ranks, a man with a very different vision of power. John Gotti, a street boss, charismatic, violent, ambitious. He commands loyalty through fear and admiration. Gotti isn't interested in quiet deals or corporate rackets. He believes the mafia should be visible, respected, feared. By the early 1980s, tension is building. Castellano surrounds himself with loyalists, many of them not traditional street gangsters. Meanwhile, Gotti and his crew operate out of Queens, running hijackings, gambling, loan sharking, old-school operations, cash-heavy, risky, profitable, but increasingly dangerous. Then comes the breaking point. Federal investigators are closing in on a massive drug trafficking case. At the center of it is a Gambino crew tied to heroin distribution, and one of the names that surfaces is connected to John Gotti's inner circle. The mafia has rules, strict ones. One of the most important: no involvement in narcotics, at least officially. In reality, many crews deal drugs, but getting caught, that's unforgivable. Castellano hears the tapes, wiretaps, conversations, names, and one thing becomes clear. Someone is talking. Someone is exposing the family. The man at the center of it all, Angelo Ruggiero, a close associate of Gotti. Loud, careless, and now a liability. Castellano demands the tapes. He wants to hear everything. Because if Ruggiero has implicated high-ranking members, there's only one solution: execution. Gotti refuses, flatly. No tapes, no cooperation, no compromise. For Castellano, this is more than disobedience. It's defiance, a direct challenge to his authority. And in the mafia, that cannot stand. Behind closed doors, conversations begin. Quiet, measured, deadly. Castellano starts considering drastic action, removing Gotti, eliminating the threat before it spreads. Because if a captain can defy the boss, the entire structure begins to crack. But Gotti is already moving. In Queens, inside the Rave Night Social Club, Gotti gathers his most trusted allies, men who have been with him for years, men who understand the stakes. Among them, Sammy Gravano, a calculating enforcer, ruthless, efficient, and loyal for now. They speak in low voices, careful, always aware of surveillance. Because by now, the FBI is everywhere. Agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation have been watching the Gambino family for years. Wiretaps, bug social clubs, hidden microphones in cars. They're building cases, waiting for mistakes. And now, the Gambino family is giving them exactly what they need. Internal conflict, division, weakness. Gotti understands something crucial. If Castellano moves first, he's dead. There will be no negotiation, no warning, just a quiet disappearance. So Gotti makes a decision, one that breaks one of the oldest rules in Mafia history. A boss can only be killed with approval from the Commission. The Commission, the governing body of the American Mafia, representatives from the 5 families of New York and beyond. Gotti doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't wait. He doesn't consult. Instead, he decides to act. Late 1985, the plan begins to take shape. Carefully, patiently, every detail matters. Because this isn't just a murder, it's a statement. Castellano is known for his routines. Predictable, structured, safe. He rarely appears in public, rarely exposes himself. But there is one exception. A meeting, scheduled, at Sparks Steakhouse, a high-end restaurant in Midtown Manhattan, a place where powerful men gather, where deals are made over dinner. For Castellano, it feels secure, neutral ground, public, visible. For Gotti, it's the perfect stage. The hit team is assembled. Experienced shooters, men who can move fast, disappear faster. They rehearse positions, escape routes, timing. Everything must be precise, because in Manhattan, there are no second chances. Meanwhile, Castellano remains unaware. Or perhaps he underestimates the threat. He arrives that night, expecting a routine meeting. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. But across the street, watching from the shadows, is John Gotti. He doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't need to. He watches, waits, and prepares to rewrite the rules of the American Mafia. Because what is about to happen is more than an execution. It is a declaration. The old Mafia is about to die. And in its place, something far more dangerous is about to rise. The cars pull in. The doors open. The shooters step forward. And in the silence of a Manhattan winter night, the future of organized crime is decided in seconds. Gunfire erupts. Sharp, violent, final. And as Paul Castellano falls to the pavement, the balance of power shifts forever. December 16th, 1985, 6 p.m., Midtown Manhattan. The gunfire echoes off the buildings. Pedestrians freeze. Some run. Others stand in shock. Outside Sparks Steakhouse, 2 bodies lie on the pavement. Paul Castellano and beside him, Thomas Bellotti, both shot multiple times. Both dead within seconds. The shooters don't hesitate. They move with precision. Coats buttoned, weapons concealed. Within moments, they disappear into the Manhattan streets. No panic, no chaos, just silence. Across the street, inside a parked car, John Gotti watches it all. Calm, focused, unflinching. This wasn't just a hit. This was a message. In Mafia tradition, killing a boss without commission approval is unthinkable. It's reckless. It's suicidal. But Gotti understands something others don't. The commission is weakened. Several bosses are already under federal indictment. Others are distracted, paralyzed. There will be no immediate retaliation, no coordinated response. And Gotti uses that window. Within hours of the murder, word spreads across New York. Paul Castellano is dead. The Gambino family has no boss. Power is suddenly up for grabs. The next move is critical. In the Mafia, power doesn't just come from violence. It comes from recognition, acceptance, legitimacy. Gotti knows he must act fast, before rivals organize, before the commission reacts, before doubt sets in. Within days, he begins consolidating control. Meetings are arranged, quiet, careful, strategic. Capos are contacted, loyalties tested, positions promised, and one by one, they fall in line. Because in the Mafia, power respects action, and no one has made a louder statement than John Gotti. At his side is a man who helped make it possible. Sammy Gravano, known as the Bull, a killer, a strategist, and now one of the most powerful figures in the Gambino family. Gravano understands the stakes. They didn't just kill a boss. They rewrote the rules. If they succeed, they become legends. If they fail, they die. By early 1986, Gotti is effectively in control. He begins operating openly, confident, visible, unapologetic. Unlike Castellano, Gotti embraces the spotlight. He appears outside social clubs, walks the streets of New York, surrounded by loyal soldiers. The media notices immediately. Sharp suits, silk ties, perfect hair. He earns a nickname, the Dapper Don. For Gotti, attention is power. But for law enforcement, it's an opportunity. Inside federal offices, agents begin connecting the dots. The murder of Castellano wasn't random. It wasn't impulsive. It was organized, calculated, and someone is responsible. The investigation intensifies. Agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation expand surveillance. More wiretaps, more informants, more pressure, because they understand something critical. Gotti may have taken control of the Gambino family, but he's also made himself a target. The most visible mafia boss in America. And visibility comes with consequences. The federal government launches one of the most aggressive prosecutions in mafia history. The Commission case, a sweeping indictment targeting the leadership of the 5 families. Among those charged, high-ranking bosses, underbosses, consigliere, decades of organized crime activity laid bare in court. The mafia's leadership structure begins to fracture. And yet, John Gotti remains free, untouched, untouchable, or so it seems. Inside courtrooms, prosecutors present evidence, wiretaps, witnesses, financial records. But juries hesitate. Witnesses disappear. Evidence weakens. And again, Gotti walks. Acquitted. Cleared. Victorious. The media gives him another name. The Teflon Don. Nothing sticks. Each acquittal strengthens his reputation. On the streets, he becomes a legend. A boss who defied the system. A man who beat the government. But behind the scenes, the pressure is building. Because success in the mafia creates enemies. Not just outside the family, but within it. Some captains grow uneasy. Gotti's visibility brings attention. Attention brings investigations. Investigations bring arrests. And arrests bring informants. The code of silence, omerta, begins to crack. Even within Gotti's inner circle, doubt starts to form. Because survival in organized crime depends on one thing, staying invisible. And John Gotti is anything but invisible. Late-night meetings grow tense. Conversations become guarded. Trust begins to erode. The same men who helped Gotti rise start asking dangerous questions. Was killing Castellano the right move? Did they gain power or sign their own death warrants? Meanwhile, the FBI adapts. They stop chasing headlines, stop rushing cases. Instead, they wait. They listen. And most importantly, they look for weakness. Because every criminal empire has one. And in the Gambino family, that weakness is growing. Inside a quiet meeting, someone speaks softly. He talks too much. No names are mentioned. They don't need to be. Everyone knows who they mean. John Gotti, the man who took power through violence, may be losing it through exposure. And the man standing closest to him is watching everything. Sammy Gravano, calculating, patient, observant. He sees the pressure, the investigations, the risks, and he understands something Gotti refuses to accept. The world has changed. The old rules don't apply anymore. The government isn't afraid, and the mafia is no longer untouchable. By the late 1980s, the walls are closing in. Surveillance tightens. Indictments loom. And inside the Gambino family, loyalty begins to fracture. Because in the end, power in the mafia is never permanent. It's borrowed. And sooner or later, the price must be paid. For John Gotti, that moment is approaching faster than he realizes. December 11th, 1990. Rave Night Social Club. Mulberry Street, Manhattan. A black sedan idles quietly across the street. Inside, federal agents listen. Headphones on. Tape rolling. Every word matters. For years, the Federal Bureau of Investigation had chased shadows. Now, they finally have a voice. Inside the club, John Gotti sits at table. Relaxed. Confident. Talking. Too much. Hidden inside the building, planted deep within the walls, is a listening device. A bug. And for the first time, the most powerful mafia boss in America is being recorded in his own headquarters. Gotti doesn't know. He believes the room is safe, untouchable. But the tapes tell a different story. He talks about business, about disputes, about violence, and most dangerously, he talks about people, including the man sitting closest to him, Sammy Gravano. At first, the conversations are routine, normal mafia discussions. But over time, a pattern emerges. Gotti complains, criticizes, blames, and again, He mentions Gravano, suggesting mistakes, questioning loyalty, shifting responsibility. For Gravano, it's a warning. In the Mafia, when a boss starts talking like that, it usually ends one way: execution. The same fate that met Paul Castellano now begins to loom over Gotti's inner circle. The indictments come down. Federal prosecutors unveil a massive case built on years of surveillance, wiretaps, witnesses, financial records. At the center of it all, John Gotti. Alongside him, Sammy Gravano, and other high-ranking members of the Gambino family. This time, it's different. The evidence is overwhelming. The tapes are clear, detailed, damning. In past trials, Gotti had beaten the system, outmaneuvered prosecutors, influenced juries. But now, the government has something stronger than intimidation. They have his own voice. Inside holding cells, conversations grow tense. Gotti remains confident. He's beaten charges before. He believes he will again. But Gravano is no longer certain. He replays the tapes in his mind. The words, the tone, the implications. And he understands something critical. Gotti isn't protecting him. He's preparing to sacrifice him. In organized crime, loyalty is conditional, and survival comes first. Behind closed doors, federal agents make a move. They approach Gravano carefully, strategically. They present the evidence, the tapes, the case, and then they offer him a choice: stay loyal and face life in prison, or cooperate and survive. For a man like Sammy Gravano, the decision is unthinkable. Breaking omerta, the sacred code of silence, is the ultimate betrayal. It means exile. It means death, if discovered. But it also means something else: freedom. Gravano hesitates, considers, calculates, and then he makes a decision that will change Mafia history forever. He talks. Sammy Gravano becomes the highest-ranking Mafia member to ever cooperate with the government. His testimony is devastating. He confirms murders, details operations, explains the structure of the Gambino family, and most importantly, he directly implicates John Gotti. For prosecutors, it's the breakthrough they've been waiting for. For the Mafia, it's a disaster. The code is broken, and once broken, it can never be fully restored. Federal Court, Brooklyn, New York. The trial begins. Gotti sits at the defense table, sharp suit, expression controlled. But this time, the confidence is different, less certain, because across the courtroom sits Sammy Gravano, the man who once stood beside him, now testifying against him. Gravano speaks calmly, clearly. He describes the Castellano hit, the planning, the execution, the aftermath. He places Gotti at the center of it all. The jury listens. For weeks, the evidence unfolds. Tape recordings, witness testimony, detailed accounts of violence and control. And slowly, the image of the untouchable boss begins to crumble. April 2nd, 1992, the verdict is delivered. Guilty on all counts: murder, racketeering, conspiracy. John Gotti is sentenced to life in prison, without parole. The Dapper Don, the Teflon Don, is finally brought down. He is transferred to the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois, a supermax facility. Isolation, silence, no more social clubs, no more power, no more control, just concrete walls and time. John Gotti dies in prison in 2002, far from the streets he once ruled, far from the empire he built through violence, and far from the night that started it all. The murder of Paul Castellano was meant to secure power. Instead, it exposed weakness. It drew attention. It accelerated the fall of the American Mafia. Because after Gravano, others began to talk. Informants increased. Cases strengthened. Families weakened. The old rules no longer held. The era of untouchable bosses was over. And the killing outside Sparks Steakhouse became more than just a mob hit. It became a turning point. A moment when ambition overpowered tradition. And in doing so, set in motion the slow collapse of an empire built on silence. In the world of organized crime, power is taken, but it is never held forever, because every rise carries the seeds of its own destruction. And sometimes, the shot that secures the throne is the same one that seals your fate.